Hello. Oh my gosh, feels good to be making another video. I was planning on making ones like whenever I say oh, another one's gonna come soon. It never works. Um, like another video's gonna come out, and then sometimes I just jinx myself. Sometimes I get unexpectedly busy. Um, I get I work and I go to school. I don't get to make as much stuff as I like to. But I have to make a video where I'm basically it's like react it's like this is react my reactions, my this is my review of a classic horror movie that came out, what was it, over 40 years ago, like nearly 50 years ago. This came out, and I know what you're thinking, because I saw it for the first time yesterday, like the whole thing all the way through, and you're like, what? Like, you've been on this earth for like over 20 years and you haven't seen it? Like, I get that. I've seen clips, like I've seen like all the famous clips. And yes, this is gonna be full of spoilers. Because this is where I like to talk about movies, or a movie, in particular, for like minutes and minutes on end. And the reason why, I mean, I wanted to watch this when I was in high school. I was getting into like horror. I was getting into like older horror movies. Like I was getting into like Hitchcock, and I was getting into like Jaws. And I love Jaws, by the way. And I asked, this is kind of funny. This is like backstory on like me and my relationship with the movie, even before I even saw the whole thing. Um, I asked for The Exorcist for Christmas, which I realize is very ironic, because considering the 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 whole thing about the movie where it's Christmas, and I'm just like, I want The Exorcist. I want a movie about the demon possessing a little girl. I know what it is about. Um, and my dad said, because I pretty much got like all these, I was asking for like a bunch of different stuff. Like one of the main things I ask for Christmas is movies. Um, it's always been that way. I mean, I got Vertigo on DVD for Christmas last year, and because I love that movie. And I asked for a bunch of different DVDs, and pretty much the only one I didn't get was that one. And my dad was like, "Oh, I didn't." Said something affected me. He's like, "I didn't get The Exorcist because it's too intense," or I can't remember what he said. Like it's just like the themes and the language and da da da. I was a teenager. Like I wasn't like I was like 12 or 13, which Linda Blair was like 12 when she filmed it, like 12/13. But then by the time it came out, she's like 14, 15 years old. Um, and she was kind of just like, I can't. And she's told this story. It's on YouTube. I'll have to link some good YouTube videos where she's talking about it, or about this movie. And she's like, I can't say those words because if you guys don't know, I mean, you probably do. This movie, like, she's possessed by a demon, which, by the way, a lot of people don't know it's a demon. It's not the devil himself, even though the demon says I'm the devil. There's that part where 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 Reagan, or the demon in Reagan's like I'm the devil. And no, I'm just picturing, I trying to sound like the demon, but it's actually, which I didn't know this, it's actually a demon called Pazuzu. I don't know. I can't, probably not pronouncing it right. What's great about Amazon, if you buy a movie to play, it's called like Amazon Video. So like, you can, if you log into your Amazon account and you play like videos, or I mean like movies or television shows, is they have a lot of trivia, especially for old movies. There's a bunch of trivia that'll pop up in certain things, and it said that it's actually, in the script, it said it's Pazuzu. It's not the devil, even though it says it's the devil. I mean, demons are gonna try and play tricks on you, so whatever. And so yeah, that's my backstory, and I always wanted to watch it, like, for years. I'm like, I want to watch this whole thing, and then I had it in my Netflix list when it was streaming on Netflix, and for some reason I was like watching a bunch of other stuff, and I never got around to like okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch The Exorcist, and then it's off at Netflix. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it on Amazon. So I was like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch it all the way through, and I figured I would give my thoughts on it and talk about kind of like little tidbits that I have found out. This movie is so good. It has moments where you're just like literally like jaw dropping moments and stuff where you're shocked because Linda Blair is saying, who plays Reagan slash Reagan possessed by a demon. I was gonna say the devil, which is not correct. What was I saying? I'm sorry. Linda Blair's a little 12-year-old girl is saying like, all these words, and you're just like, whoa. And I was expecting it because I knew with all like the parodying and the clips that I've seen that she does say those things. Like she says like, your mother sucks in hell, and I don't want to say, that many bad words, but and then she just kept going, and I was just like, I was watching this alone in my room, just like, I couldn't believe, like, I was just like, whoa. And the things she was doing, like, I didn't really know about, like, she was doing, a kid was doing these things, and she didn't know what most of the words meant. I'm pretty sure she didn't know what it meant. Like, she had to basically pretend she was like taking a crucifix and just pretending like she's like, I can't remember the exact like what the devil's demon says, but it's like, a little girl is like has this voice and she's like, it's like, oh my gosh, telling this priest to F her and everything, and like she's like, and she's doing these gross things where she's like making it using a crucifix, and she's just a cross, a cross, and she's just like, like jamming it, and like she's like, how do I explain it? Like mimicking like sex, like blah. And you're just like, whoa. But that's what I think a demon would do, if it was in the body of somebody. And it's a really good movie. Like, it's like shocking, and Linda Blair has a good moment. She's been interviewed about it, of course, many times, and she's talked about how people think it's just a monster movie where it's like a little girl and she's possessed and she's a monster, but you listen to the dialogue, it's about faith, and it's about a bunch of different things. It's also about a mother's love for her child, and the mom is basically going to doctors, and the doctors are saying, oh, she's got something wrong with her brain and stuff like that, and then like and she's just like saying certain things, and then she's like, well, like, that's not my daughter. Like, my daughter like doesn't act like that. Like, she's like, there's no way there's like, that's my daughter. Like, she can't just like change in like a night. Like, she's like, whoa. And they're like, oh, it's split personality disorder. And then sometimes it can be like, the doctors are just like, sometimes they can be very aggressive and violent outbursts and everything. And you're just like, oh my gosh. And then they finally go like, are you religious? And then she's like, no. Is your daughter religious? She's like, no. So obviously it's like the mom has never like taught her anything about like Christianity or whatever, or anything really religious. And so that she says, so then they say exorcism, and so they find the mom is just like anything to freaking try and help her, because that's not her. That's because at the end of the day, it's like your kid like she's got like lesions in her face. She's like vomiting, and she's saying different, all these things, and she's speaking in a, she's her voice is not hers. Like it's so different. Like of course it's gonna be like that's more than just a mind thing, like a psychological thing. I think the scariest thing involving bodily fluid, or just like the thing where you're like, was the part where they were, before she was fully, like she was possessed obviously, but they were like doing tests and they're trying to get I don't understand how this thing works, but they're basically to get a good picture of her brain, like an x-ray. They stick a friggin' needle in her neck and they like take out blood, and I think they were taking out, I can't remember what the process is called, but it's like it has to do with spinal fluid, so you can get like a good picture of the brain. And I'm just like, ooh, and just, like, oh, poor little girl. Oh my gosh. But there's a lot of like history with this movie. Like for instance, like the production was like always pushed back. Like things would just happen. Like I think 2 actors got sick at the start of production, and then 9 people died in an electrical fire like on set, and people were saying that it was cursed because it was like a lot of bad crap was happening. And like Linda Blair did such a good job, and by the way, like she was like, had just recently was like, I'm not gonna be an actor anymore, and they were like, oh well, there's a movie where they need a little girl, and they're like, oh, let's try acting. And then she gets this role, and she got a Golden Globe for it, and she was nominated for an Oscar, which I'll come back to the Oscar thing in a second. But it's like, people thought she was like Satan, and people thought she was like, had psychological issues afterwards. And she's like, they're interviewing her, and she's like, oh yeah, people I guess thought I would just come out of that movie having problems or something, but I don't. And she's like, and it's just it's so ironic because like not ironic, but it's so weird, interesting, because she's like the exact, like, people think, oh, she's Satan, because sometimes audiences are stupid and they think, oh, like, because we suspend our disbelief to watch something on screen, and then when we see the real person, we're just like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, well, don't you remember at the end when the demon left her? Like, went into freaking Father Karras. He jumped out the window. That was gnarly. Oh my gosh. Just doom, downstairs. Just doom, Oh my gosh. So it's obviously like, if you were believing that, why would you believe the other part? And then it's like, the devil's not in her anymore. So it's like, and then it's like, she's like the sweetest girl like ever, obviously too. Like, the woman is a saint. Like, she's 59 or something now, and she looks great, and she's helping animals. Like, she has her own foundation, and she's like, she went, when Hurricane Katrina happened, she went and like was like saved like 50 something dogs. I was just like, wow, like, she's a saint. Like, she's like the sweetest woman, like probably like one of the sweetest people ever. Like, you're watching these interviews and you're watching her with dogs, and you're just like, whoa, like. But people were like, ah, and then poor thing, she's just like, the press just, they were crucified. She said they crucified me, which is a good, I see what she did there. I'm gonna have to link some videos below. Okay, the whole thing with the Oscar thing, and I read an Amazon trivia thing where they said that, okay, so some actress, an older lady, dubbed her voice was dubbed in, like she did the voice of the demon. So obviously on set it was Linda Blair, and she spoke her lines, but then later on in post-production, that's what we call it, children, you had, her name's Mercedes, I can't remember her last name. She comes in, she dubs her lines. Does a great job. Like, I mean, I also I think I'll have to link a video below where it talks about, where it has Linda Blair's own voice. And some people think it's creepier with just a little girl, and she's just like, hello, father. You know, she's just like, hello, father, you know? She's got this high-pitched, you know, baby voice, almost, like, high-pitched, like, you know, 12-year-old girl voice, and then it's very interesting. I think it is scary with the woman's voice dubbed in, and it is scary, kind of creepy when you have Linda Blair's voice. So obviously they recorded her voice, and then they dubbed in someone else's voice later. So, now, I read this Amazon trivia thing, and they said that, so they nominated her for the Oscar, which, as we know, that year, it was Tatum O'Neal. Which, that is a good movie. Paper Moon is a really good movie. Tatum O'Neal did a great job. But I'm, like, looking at it now, and I'm like, two kids that did really well, but I feel like I almost don't know if I would have, if I was in that position, if I would have given it to Tatum O'Neal. But I'll tell you why they probably gave it to someone else. So apparently, according to this not quote, sorry, a trivia piece, it said that they realized that after they nominated her, they were giving her credit for the woman who did the dubbing, Mercedes, I can't remember her last name, and who did the dubbing, like acting like, oh, she was giving credit for her work. Okay, yeah, like voice acting, that's important, like she did a really good job, but Linda Blair was doing like all that physical stuff, is still saying the lines and doing all the creepy crap, and you know, that has to be, thank goodness she got a Golden Globe at least out of that, you know, like, that's like probably like only a notch down for an Oscar. She got a Golden Globe, thank goodness. And so someone said, I remember in the comment, and it's underneath a video where it's like Linda Blair's voice on set, and said that if it was her own voice, she probably would have gotten it, but you never know with these things. So they couldn't, there's a rule, like once the nominations are announced, like, and you've given someone a nomination, you can't take it away, which I think is very smart. But yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, tell me what you think of that. Kind of weird, that people are like, oh, she's taking credit for someone, a voice actresses. No. I did like this movie a lot. It's like, you get you get to see Reagan as a regular girl, and you learn that it's like her dad is not in the picture, doesn't even want to like call his daughter to say happy birthday, like, loser. So you get to see her as like a normal girl, and apparently there's a deleted scene where, before she's possessed, where you can see her as like a normal kid, which is good, because it's like, it's important to see a girl before, like a victim before they are made a victim, if that makes any sense. So that when she is possessed, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrible, but you still feel bad for her, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And yeah, you see Reagan, and then you see her with a Ouija board, and it says that she talks to this guy. I can't remember the name of the ghost. And then the Ouija board actually did, like, the little, what is it called? That thing that, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know what it's called, but it moves, like, abruptly to, like, no. Like, the mom's like, oh, you don't want me to play? Like, no, it's the ghost. So that was cute. And you realize that, like, I think when you watch this, because if you, like, know anything about it, you maybe only seen, like, some of the famous clips where it's, like, the head spin or her vomiting, you know, the soup. A lot of that stuff happens at the end. The famous scenes, I guess you can call it. Really cool. And I do agree with Linda Blair, like, you need to listen to the dialogue. Like, the stuff, it's more but than just the, like, a horror, like, oh my gosh, scary girl movie. It's like, it's just like, you see what it does to the mom. like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my daughter? It's like the mom's love for their daughter. And then it's about, you know, like a guy who's kind of like, in the beginning of the movie, he's like, I lost my faith, you know, like, it's about faith and like, I don't know what to do. And it's about guilt and good versus evil. And Linda Blair says something really nice, beautiful. She says that good will always conquer evil. It just takes some time. Something to that effect. She says it better than I did. But it's a long movie, but it's paced pretty well. You're kind of just like, what the heck is going on with this little girl, kind of a thing. Then there's a guy a detective that's suspicious and thinks that the daughter did it, because there's a guy that the mother was dating who was also a director that died, and it's like his head was turned all the way around. So very unlikely it was from the fall. Yeah, I don't think he talks like that, but whatever. Pacing was pretty good, and it was like just people in pain, like different people in pain. Just well written, like well done. The effects were like, I don't think anyone had seen a movie like this. Like, people were passing out and becoming nauseous, like, in the theater, because it was just like, it was intense for people. I don't think anyone had seen anything like that. And it's over 40 years old. And a good movie. Like, where you're just like things that she says. And props to her for, like, going through all that physical stuff. And just, like, apparently, like, this mechanism where it was making her going back and forth, like, on the bed, was actually, like, something became undone and, like, was, like, jamming into her, like, lower back or her lower spine. So, like, I think apparently it broke her back. So it's like, ugh. She's in all these different mechanisms. You can just, like, oh, wow. To make her move in such ways. And it's good. Like, everybody, like, all the actors are great. All the effects are great. That's what I loved about, like, the 70s, 80s horror, is, like, if it was all, like, it was cool because it was all physical. Like, everything, like, people had heads that had to be sculpted so that certain things could happen. It was very physical, and yet, like, it's kind of funny when, like, I'm onto a different movie, but there's, like, a scene in Nightmare on Elm Street. This is 84, so it's, like, 11 years later, but you could tell they just, like, the part where he's kind of like, he's coming through the ceiling, and then he, like, disappears, and he's gonna, like, get Nancy or whatever, and it's in the beginning of the movie, and all they did was, like, it was, like, a hole in the wall, and I think they just put, like, a spandex, like, sheet, and all he did was just there was just, like, a guy, like, pressing up against it. That looked more real than the CGI in 2010 when he had Freddy in the walls. Like, I don't know, sometimes, like, you know, the physical effects, like, look really good. And, like, what they did in 1973, like, with the makeup was really well done, and, you know, for Reagan and everything. It was great. I liked it. Great movie. I'd recommend it to people, and I'm glad I watched it finally. I don't know if I have anything else to say about this movie. I'm gonna leave some videos down below, and also too, before I leave you, just want to say thank you for watching the Heathers video where I talked about the Heathers television show trailer, because not many people watch videos where I'm in them, like my face and everything. So yeah, probably gonna do more movie reviews / reactions, just talking about it. It's a great movie. See you guys in the next video. Peace.